So we wanted to talk about weather-related absences. Obviously, severe weather can happen various times of the year, especially, we are in the Buffalo area here. Many of you listening are as well. The biggest weather-related consideration we have is the snow in the winter, or at least very cold weather and wintry conditions. So that happened to correlate with these winter holidays that we're primarily thinking of with regard to this presentation. But again, this can come into play at any time of the year. So again, under the Fair Labor Standards Act and many, if not all, state laws, you would not be required to compensate non-exempt employees for time missed as a result of inclement weather. In other words, if they can't make it in because of snow, then you don't have to pay them for missing that time. There are union contract, collective bargaining agreements that would require alternative compensation in that situation. Maybe they get paid for the whole day, maybe they get paid for part of the day, or maybe they have to get scheduled makeup time or something like that. But normally under the law, that's not required automatically. If the offices are open, again, related to what I talked about before, salaried exempt employees could have their salary reduced for a full day absence only, but if the employee comes in late, you cannot reduce their pay for a partial day absence if they're a salaried exempt employee. Again, most companies aren't bothering to go to that level of administrative hassle, for lack of a better word, anyway. But if you are in a company where you consider reducing salaried exempt employees' pay, you should be very careful because there are some pretty strict regulations on when you can and cannot do that. Again, for the exempt employees or even non-exempt employees, you could allow them to use up vacation or personal time to cover these absences when the office is open, or in the case of non-exempt employees, theoretically, even in the case of exempt employees, you could allow them to take personal or vacation time to cover days even when the office is closed if you're not otherwise paying them. There are times when the office might only be closed for part of the day. You might have to let people go home early because of an anticipated weather situation. Usually, you're only required to compensate the non-exempt employees for the hours they actually worked. In these situations, you're going to have to pay the salaried employees once they've worked part of the day. But the non-exempt employees, if they only work 4 hours, you don't have to necessarily pay them for the 4 hours they would have worked had they not had to go home early because the office or plant closed. There are some state laws that have, whether it be call-in or call it something else, types of pay provisions that require companies to pay non-exempt employees for at least a certain number of hours if they show up for a scheduled shift and are sent home early. New York has such a law, although it doesn't always come into play because of the way it's currently written. There have been efforts to extend and amend that law, and that might yet happen. So I don't want to get too far into the details of that, but know that you might need to check that. And again, we've talked about the exempt salaried employees. Again, once an employee that is salaried and exempt works any part of the week, you have to pay them for the full week unless they take full day absences. And if they take full day absences of their own volition, their pay could be deducted in some cases for that, or they could be required to take up their PTO or vacation time